What's up everyone? Welcome or welcome back to the Marketing Nomad YouTube channel. I am the Marketing Nomad. Alrighty, something very interesting happened to me this week and I wanted to share it with you and also document it. So one of the biggest and most brutal lessons that I learned in my late teens and early 20s is that it's okay to want something, but it's not okay to be desperate about it. And I learned this with respect to my personal relationships. Very, very brutal lesson. I stumbled a lot and it took me quite some time to kind of have this lesson ingrained in me. And so it's been about a decade, right, of me learning that lesson, and I have implemented it a couple of times throughout the decade, and it's been going well, all right? That lesson pretty much learned. Let's put like a like a yes, all good to go signal beside that. But of course, it took me quite some time. It took me like 4 or 5 years to learn that lesson, and it was very, very painful, very, very brutal. But that was with respect to my personal relationships. One of the things that surprised me this week is how that particular lesson played out in my business, and I wanted to sit down with you and talk about it. So given that that lesson has kind of been ingrained within me, it really caught me by surprise that it had kind of spread over into an area of my business, and I wanted to share that with you. So for me, one thing that I kind of keep in mind is that it's okay to want something. That's absolutely normal. It's okay to want something, but in the process of wanting something, it is not okay to be desperate for it. When you are in the energy of desperation, what tends to happen is you tend to compromise your own value. You tend to make unnecessary sacrifices, or you tend to put yourself in a position where it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like you are valued. It also does kind of put you in a situation where you can lose a little bit of the respect that you have for yourself. So it's okay to want something, but you have to do it from a place of power, from a place of recognizing your own value, your own self-respect, your own self-esteem, so on and so forth. All right. So something happened to me this week and I wanted to share it with you. A client reached out to me and they wanted a particular service that I offered, but their budget was a little bit lower than the price point of my services. Now, if I were desperate, because I did want to help that client, I did want to make that sale, of course, well, I'm running a business, right? So yes, I mean, yes to all of that, right? Yes to the practical aspect of it, and yes to the energy aspect of it as well, right? Now, if I had been desperate for that sale, I would have reduced the value of my service and I would have just given it. I would have maybe decided, okay, I'm going to give it at the price point that you want it to be, and that is it. Now, if I had done that, what I would have essentially done is reduced the value of that service in my client's mind, and that was not necessarily the route that I wanted to take, because I value my services. I put a price to it because I believe that is the, I guess, that is the change that that particular service can help my client with, all right? And I didn't want to devalue the service that I was offering. Now, what I did instead, because I did want the sale, I did want to help that client, but at the same time, I didn't want to act from a place of desperation. What I did was, if there were 10 items listed in the service, and that's the price point for those 10 items for that particular service, I took out 2 of them and I put 8 items in that particular service and I offered it to the client at the price point that was within their budget. And so what I did in this perspective is that I held on to the value of the services. I may have decreased the offerings in the service, hence the price reduction, but I did not decrease the value of that particular service. The client went ahead with me because it was within their budget and they did want to work with me as well. But it was 8 items that I was offering and the value of the service was still held intact. And so just when, I received this email from my client saying, I'm not necessarily okay with the price point. It is a little bit out of my budget, but I really want to work with you. In that moment, I remember telling this to myself. It's okay to want the sale. It's okay to want to help your client, but it's not okay for me to act from a place of desperation. So let's find a way to still want to move forward with my client, but at the same time upholding the value of that particular service. And that's exactly what I did. And it's interesting that this particular lesson for me came from personal relationships. It came from, it was literally derived from my understanding when it came to the personal relationships that I did go through in my late teens and early 20s. And I was just amazed. I was just amazed that even though I've been implementing it for about a decade now in my personal relationships, this is one where it translated into my business. And I didn't decrease my value. I didn't decrease the value of my services, my self-respect, my dignity, my self-esteem. Everything was held in complete, tact and intact, I guess I would say. And my service as well, in the eyes of my client, it still held up its value. Yes, the price point decreased, but so did the offerings. And it was, I guess I would say, it aligned with their perception of the service. And I also didn't do a disservice to other people who had paid me for the price point of that particular service. So all in all, I felt very accomplished. I was very, very happy with this. I was really absolutely, overjoyed that I was able to help my client make the sale while also keeping the value of my service in mind and not decreasing it, upholding the respect that people have for that particular service that I offer, and upholding, my own self-respect as well, my own dignity. And that was very, very beautiful for me to experience as well. Like just how that concept of it's okay to want something, absolutely okay to want something, but it is not okay to be in the energy of desperation. You have to learn how to step away from that energy of desperation while wanting something. That is when you will act from a place of power. That is when you will keep your self-respect, keep your dignity, you'll keep your self-esteem, you'll also keep your confidence, without devaluing either your services or yourself as well. So I really believe that you get to decide. Your perception especially gets to decide how other people will perceive you and or as an extension of you, your business and your services. So it really boils down to you. If you devalue your service, it's very natural that other people will also devalue it in their mind. If you uphold it, you say, no, my service is worth that much. I will not reduce it. However, I will tweak it so that it matches the price point of my client's budget, because I really do want to work with them as well and I do want to make that sale. That would be you upholding the value, your perception of the value of your service. You're upholding it, and people perceive what you perceive. You get to decide how people perceive yourself, like that is you, and your services, because, well, your business and your services technically are an extension of you, right? So you get to decide. And so if I had devalued my services, it would be quite understandable that people around also would devalue it in their mind. However, when I uphold the value of my service, I say, no, that it is worth that much, then so will other people's perception align with that. But it is up to you to uphold that, right? So I just wanted to share that with you, that it does extend to other aspects of life as well, not necessarily with respect to personal relationships. And that's something that kind of just popped in my mind this week. And it's just something that I'm literally going through, that it's okay to want something, but it is not okay to be in the energy of desperation while you're wanting something to happen, whatever it could be, all right? And so when you feel that energy of desperation starting to kind of rise within you, walk away from it. Understand that it's okay to want something, but it's not okay to be desperate for it, right? And so the moment you understand that, you will align with how you are supposed to go about getting what you want without sacrificing your value, without sacrificing your self-respect, your dignity, your self-esteem, your confidence. And as an extension of that, so it is with respect to people's perception of your business and your services as well. All right. Wanted to share this with you. It's such a beautiful win because this is something that I learned through a lot of pain. It was very, very brutal for me to learn this lesson with respect to my personal relationships, and to see that pay off with respect to my business and actually have like a monetary value associated with it, because I didn't make the sale. At the end of the day, it does translate into revenue for my business. So to see that happen, and the way that I handled the situation, the communication with the client, I was just quite happy with how this went about. So I think this is something that I'll remind myself throughout my entire life, and even understand that it is going to extend to other aspects of my life. It's okay for me to want something, but it is not okay for me to be desperate for it. So I get to want something, but if that desperation energy starts rising within me, I walk away. I walk away from desperation, all right? So I wanted to share that with you. I really hope that this helps you in some way. If it made you start thinking, or if it helped you in some way, definitely do give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because that tells you every single time I do upload a YouTube video. Take care, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye-bye.